Well, good morning, students. I hope that you feel well. Today we are going to start our lecture beginning with chapter 10, that is on page 78, teaching reading. So what I want you just to open your book and follow. Goals and techniques for teaching reading. Reading is an important means of communication. This is a very important statement. Here, if we want just to discuss this statement, you have to ask yourself, how is reading is a means of communication? How can we communicate through reading? And why do we consider reading as a skill just to communicate? Readers and writers interact through the reading of text. Okay, now, when we are talking about interaction, in a spoken form, it's okay just to consider that there is an interaction between a speaker and a listener. But how is it to be explained when we have reading? With reading, what do we have? We have writers and readers. And this is very important. So here, if we say that we have interaction, yes, because we have two sides here. We have readers and writers, okay? So between them, we have a message to be given through reading skill. So here, we have writers to deliver messages, and we have readers to get the message. So in this case, we have interaction and we have communication. Got the point? This, I mean, in this consideration, you have to focus on the word communication. Do we have communication in reading skill? Yes, because we have an interaction between the reader and the writer. Is it clear up to this point? If I ask you, how do we have communication in reading? Though it is not in a spoken form, it is in a written form. Any question about this point?
Can you repeat this, Doctor?
Yes. Here we have this statement which says that reading is an important means of communication. What does this mean? It means that we have communication in reading skill. How? Here we have interaction between whom? Between the reader and the writer. Okay, instead of having speaker and listener, here we have reader and writer. Between them we have a message. This message to be delivered by a writer and to be gained or obtained by the reader. And here, what is the difference? Of course, the writer doesn't necessarily exist when the reader is getting the message. Unlike, I mean, speaking here, the speaker and listener, they are doing their own roles at the same time. While in reading, no. What do we have? We have the writer who is, delivering his message maybe, years before the reader is getting the message. So this is the difference. But here, the question is, do we have communication? Yes. Do we have interaction? Yes. What are the sides of the interaction? We have the reader and we have the writer. Readers and writers interacted through the reading of a text. You see now? So the message will be given through a text. Reading also offers additional exposure to the language. Okay. Now, if we consider the difference between spoken form and written form, here, do we have some sort of language development in reading skill? Yes, because there is some sort of exposure. What does it mean, exposure? Something to be delivered, something to be given through a text, and this will give so many information and so many things that are related to language, vocabulary, style. So all these things will be delivered through reading, as we have things to be delivered through speaking. So here, do we have something to be developed in relation to language? Yes, that is to be given by reading. So there is an exposure of language in which we have things to be added in relation to vocabulary and language style. So additional exposure to the language and exposure that can offers by stimulating, interesting, and up-to-date in terms of vocabulary, especially in newspapers. Okay. So here, when we are considering reading, we have something to be given to the reader. That is what new vocabulary, new style, and things that are related to interest, by the way. Of course, when we talk about reading, reading is highly connected with interest. Okay, I cannot read anything without having the purpose or the aim of choosing what is to be read. And that is related to the interest. Unless I'm interested in certain field, I cannot choose a book or any material or any text to be read unless I have interest. So here, reading stimulates interest. Okay, it gives a variety of types of reading, the way that the reader will be free to choose whatever the text suits his interest. And here, when we say, especially newspapers, what to say in newspapers? Because we have some sort of updated information. When we talk about information here, I mean, regardless of the language to be used. Here, if we want just to have something updating, new, that is to be provided by the reading text. Of course, when we talk about newspapers as an example, of course, the newspapers are to be delivered daily. It means that it gives new information to the reader. So this is what we call what facilities that we have from reading. Updated information, a new style, a new vocabulary, updated vocabulary also. And again, it stimulates interest. However, learning to read in another language can be a frustrating experience for the learner if the reading material is too difficult or unsuitable. This is very important. Here, when we are talking about reading in general, it's okay, and when we say reading in general, whether reading in the native language, reading, the text in the native language or any other language. Here, when we are talking about reading in another language, that is reading in the target language, it will be frustrating. What does it mean? It means that the reader will get disappointed, or the reader will not get something useful. If, why to have if? This is something conditional. If the reading text would be difficult, why to say difficult? It means that it is full of a new and unused vocabulary. This is one. And if the reading text will be unsuitable, that is what? It is not related to the interest of the reader. This is one. It is above the level of the reader. Of course, when I'm going to teach a beginner, I'm going to choose the reading text which suits the level of the beginner. I cannot have a difficult text to be given to the beginner to say that it's okay, this is the reading text that you are going to get something new. Of course, it will be difficult for him because it is above the level, new and difficult vocabulary, and still the beginner is getting information and he is not having the full mastery of the language to get this difficult text. So the reading skill will be not useful if the text to be given is above the level or doesn't suit the interests of the reader. Up to this point, any question? Any question? Okay. Variety of reading performance in the language classroom is derived more from the variety of text to which you can expose students than from the variety of other types of performance. Now, here, if we want just to specify reading to the classroom activities, reading, of course, will be one of the classroom activities to be done inside a class. So here in the classroom environment, we have a variety of reading performance. That is, how can students perform different types of reading according to the activity to be given in the textbook. And of course, the choice will be different according to the level, according to the stage, according to the development of the textbook itself. I mean, reading in Unit 1 will be different in reading text in Unit 10, for example. However, we have types of reading performance that is to be done inside the classroom, or sometimes it can be done as homework. So what I want you just to look at the diagram. You can see the diagram approximately in the mid of this page. Can you see it, please? Can you see this diagram? We are going to explain this diagram. So what I want you just to check it in your book and follow. Is it okay for you? Just to see
Yes,
the diagram?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we see it.
Yes. What do we have? We have this classification. We have two main types of reading at the beginning. What are they? Oral and silent. What does it mean? Oral reading, it means it is what? It is verbal reading. That is what? It is sounding reading. Now, what I'm doing now, it's what? It's oral reading. When I'm reading now, chapter 10, it is what? It is oral. That is, I'm going to sound the sentences that are found in this page. This is what we call oral. Now, what do you mean by silent? Silent reading means eye reading. You know, eye reading. That is, I'm not going to sound. I'm not going to use my voice to read. I'm going to use my eye to read. And that is what we call silent reading. And if you remember when we were students and say, read silently, what does it mean? It means that you are going to use your eye to read, not your mouth. Clear or not? Just tell me. Clear? What
Yes.
is the difference between oral and silent?
Yes.
Okay. Now, silent reading will be subdivided into intensive and extensive. Okay. Now, we have subdivision of what? Of silent reading. We have intensive and we have extensive. What do you mean by intensive? Intensive, that is limited to certain, for example, paragraph or certain sentences. And it will be, again, subdivided into linguistic and content. When I say intensive, that is the reading that is related to certain paragraph, in certain passage, in certain unit, inside the class, we have a reading activity to be done inside a class by choosing certain paragraph in certain passage in certain unit. That is what intensive. What do we have? We have linguistic, that is to consider what is grammar to be used, what is vocabulary to be used, okay, in relation to language. That is what we call linguistic, okay? And then we have content. That is the information to be given in this paragraph. So here, if I want just to check the reading in this type, that is intensive, I'm going to consider 2 points. First of all, linguistic. What are the vocabulary to be used in this certain paragraph, in this certain passage, in this certain unit? I mean, I'm choosing a certain paragraph or from a certain passage. Then I'm going to analyze it. What are the grammatical points to be used? What are the vocabulary to be used? Okay, that is for what? For linguistic. And then the content, that is what? Here, what does it mean? I mean, what meanings that this paragraph carry? What information that this paragraph give? Okay, suppose that this paragraph is talking about holidays. Okay, so I'm going to consider what meanings that we have in order just to change the meaning into question and answer, and this is what we call content. Clear?
Excuse me, doctor, can we
Yes.
say the content is purposeful?
It's not just, by the way, all types of reading are purposeful. I'm not going to read for nothing. Of course, I'm going to have something. For linguistic, I have something. I have a purpose to discover and to analyze what are the grammatical forms that are to be used in a reading text. Okay, that is, for example, tenses or passive or active, or let me say clauses. You see, all these things to be discovered in the linguistic part of reading, and it is purposeful. Of course, again, with linguistic, I have to consider and analyze what kind of vocabulary do we have: nouns, verbs, adjectives, and if they are new to students, I'm going to write them on the board to show them that they are a new vocabulary to be used later. So there is a purpose, and with content, of course, because here I'm behind the meaning of this paragraph to be read. What information does it give? Okay, in order to be, I mean, used in the exam, I'm going to use this piece of information to shift it into what? Question and answer according to the meaning, because I'm behind the content of this passage. I mean, what does it talk about? What is it about? Okay, so here again, reading is purposeful in content reading and in what? Linguistic reading. So here, purposes are found here and there. Clear, Abdullah?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Now, we move to extensive. Again, it is subdivision of eye reading or silent reading. By the way, I may use eye reading to refer to silent reading. So you have to consider, if I say eye reading to be, again, subdivided into extensive. Okay. Here, when we say extensive, what types of extensive reading? And why to say extensive? Okay, extensive, it means that it is general. What does it mean? Now, when you are having reading text for literature, you have, for example, a play, or you have a novel. Of course, when you are going to tackle them generally, okay, it will be extensive reading. That is what you are not going to consider certain speeches or certain paragraphs or certain pages. No, if we are talking about reading, for example, if I say Hard Times or Scarlet Letter, these novels, I believe that you tackle them now as novels. Okay, they are reading texts, but they are not going to be tackled specifically. No, you are going to tackle them generally. I mean, from the beginning till the end. Okay, so this is what we call extensive. That is, it is not limited to certain paragraph. It is not limited to certain pages. No, you are going to tackle them generally from the beginning till the end, totally, comprehensively. Okay, so here, this type of extensive reading, it will be subdivided again into skimming, scanning, global. Skimming, scanning, global. What is the meaning of each of those subdivisions? With skimming, you are going to have rapid reading, a general view. You see now, just like checking, you see now, when you are going to check, you are not going to read, sentence by sentence. You have a quick look, a quick look. You are going to look at the pages quickly. This is what we call skimming, just to check. Okay, you may say that, okay, this is chapter 1 of Scarlet Letter novel. Okay, this is the final chapter. How can you guess these things? You are going to read it quickly. This is what we call skimming. You read from the beginning till the end. You see now, by eye reading, but you are not going to check sentence by sentence, word by word. It's just to have a quick view of what you read. This is what we call skimming. Clear? Clear, students? Students?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Now we come to scanning. Scanning, you are going to check, but you are going to specify your checking about certain paragraphs. So this is what you call a scan. You are going to choose to select, okay, what you read from the total text. Okay, for example, you are tackling hard times. Okay, you are going to select certain chapter to read, because you feel that this is something important. So you are going to select and to check it specifically. This is what you call a scanning. Okay, then we have a global. A global is a general reading. That is what you are not going to specify your reading, and of course you are not going to read it quickly, but you are going to have a general idea or the theme. For example, you are reading a text. Okay, you are going to summarize it or to have the outline of this reading. Okay, and this is what we call global reading. Okay, if you are going to tackle a poem, okay, do you consider the poem line by line? No, you are going to have first the general meaning. This you have the general meaning, I believe, in poetry. You have general meaning, and then we have detailed meaning. Okay, so here the general meaning, it is called global. That is what the total let me say aim behind writing this text. This is one. Second, if you are tackling a novel, the theme would be considered as global. The theme of the novel itself. This is what we call a global. So this is the difference between skimming, that is what quick reading, scanning, selecting certain chapters, and global, the general idea of the text as a whole. Clear?
Doctor, we can say skimming is a summarize.
No. Skimming is not summarizing. Having a quick reading for checking only. Skimming. Scanning, selecting certain chapters or certain paragraphs to be read. Selection. Okay. Global is the general. Global, Abdullah. Global is the general idea. Okay, of the total text. Please do not mix. I need you just to differentiate clearly. And if it is not understood, please tell me now.
And yes, doctor, can you repeat these 3 points?
Skimming, a quick and let me say not specified, okay, a quick reading just to check. Quick reading for checking only. Scanning, selecting, choosing certain paragraphs or certain chapters to be read. Global is the general idea or the theme of the text to be given for reading. That is the difference. Any other question? Please,
No,
this diagram is very, very, very important. I'm emphasizing. And you have to know that if you are not considering the differences, you cannot answer in the final examination. This diagram should be understood fully. Okay, you have to consider what is the difference between oral and silent, and how silent is to be divided and subdivided, and what is the difference among all these types. Teachers want to produce students who, even if they do not have complete control of the grammar or an extensive lexicon. What do you mean extensive lexicon? That is vocabulary. When we talk about the word lexicon, it means vocabulary. But here, lexicon to be used to refer to the written language, not the oral language or the spoken language. Can struggle for themselves in communication situation. In the case of reading, this means producing students who can use reading strategies to maximize their comprehension of the text. You see now, what is the aim of a teacher in reading skill? We need students to struggle. Why to say the word struggle? I want you just to, focus on the word struggle. I have vocabulary as a student, and I have a good grammar. I'm going to put it in a test. Where is the test? The test, if I have a text to read and to check my level, what can I understand from the text, from the new text that I have? And let me give you an example. Now, you as students in the 3rd class, sometimes if some students want just to check their level, they go to have any book or any text in English, okay? And they are going to struggle. What to struggle? To check themselves. Can I understand this text that I choose depending on my vocabulary store and grammar to understand what is going on? So this is what we need as teachers. We give them reading text to check themselves. Can they understand? Can they use what they have as vocabulary store to understand what is to be given in the target language? This is what we call a struggle, and this is very important. So this is our goal as teachers, to make students test, you know the word test their vocabulary store, test their grammar, and to check if they are able to use them to understand the given text in the target language. Clear?
Doctor, so students have to understand every word in the text, or just
well, of course, you have to know, Yasemin. In reading, we have variation in levels, okay? Here, it doesn't mean that all students can know everything in the text. They are going to vary, you know. Here, students of good vocabulary or good vocabulary store and good grammar, they are what? They are going to understand everything. But other students cannot in the same degree. They are going to vary. For example, some students can understand 100%, others 70, 100%, others 40%, others 10%. Got the point now? So it's not the same, you know, you see now. And if I ask you personally, if I ask you personally, did you check yourself if you choose any text in English to understand it from the beginning? Yes, I mean.
Yes, yes. But I
So
just
what does it mean?
understand
What does it mean? So it is a training. You see, now it is training. It means that you trained yourself to read more. The more you read, the better you will be. The more you read, the better your level will be. Get the point now? If I check you with other students who never read other resources rather than the resources that they have in their own study, it means that variation will be what will be clear. You are going to understand 100%, others will understand in lower percentage. You get the point now? So it is a matter of a level. It's a matter of a training. And you have to consider in each skill that we tackle, whether listening, speaking, reading, they are all to be trained. You see now, when we talk about skills, it's a matter of a training. No one can deny that with good training, I'm going to be better. Okay, whether listening, speaking, you see now, in listening, if you are listening heavily, of course, you can understand anything to be given orally to you. If you are practicing speaking, it means that you are able to communicate and interact better than others. And if you are reading more and more, you can easily understand the text to be given to you rather than others. And of course, with writing. And remember, with writing, if you consider even the first course that I taught, and what I did for you to develop your skill, of course, there is what we call variation. Okay, those who are training to write, okay, they are able to write a paragraph or essay, whatever whatever its kind will be. Okay, whether to be descriptive, narrative, argumentative, okay, and so on. Got the point now, Yasamin, or not? Just tell me.
Yes, doctor, thank you.
It's okay. Okay, we move to page 79. Okay, that is the completion of the previous page. I identify the relevant and non-relevant information and tolerate less than word-by-word comprehension. By the way, if you consider reading comprehension, you remember when you studied comprehension in the first year and second year, you were required to write a praise. You remember? You remember that?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yes, when you were asked to write précis, of course, you are going to consider from which point to begin and from which point to end. That is to consider what is relevant and what is irrelevant. You have the point now? So this is what is happening in reading. Okay, you are going to consider what is to be related to the questions to be given after reading. Okay, and that's why for reading comprehension, questions will be delivered immediately after the text. What does it mean? To check your understanding and to check what is relevant and irrelevant, instead of reading word by word. Now, developing reading activities involves more than identifying a text that is at the right level. Writing a set of comprehension questions for students to answer after reading, handing out the assignment, and sending students away to it. A fully developed reading activity supports students as readers through a pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading activities. Easy now. Here, when we are going to design activities for reading as teachers, it's not only to check understanding. This is one step, but what we need, other things, by the way. Here we have to check even the development of students in relation to this skill. And when we are going to have these things, we have to have stages. What do we have before reading? What do we have while reading? And what do we have after reading? That is post-reading. So what do we have? Here, these stages will be divided in this, way to consider what is to be done before the reading activity. How can we prepare our students for the reading text? And then what is happening through reading? When we have the reading to be done, okay, and then what is the benefit after reading activity? Of course, with checking understanding, as I said earlier, that we have questions to be delivered after the text immediately to check that whether the students comprehend and they can answer. Okay. As you design reading tasks, keep in mind that complete recall of all information in a text is unrealistic expectation even for native speakers. This is very important. Of course, when we are going to have a reading activity, we cannot expect that students will know everything and will remember everything which is found in the text. This will be impossible, even for native speakers. But what we need, reading activities that are meant to increase communicative competence should be success-oriented and build up students' confidence in their reading ability. Okay, so what do we need instead? As I mentioned earlier, we need to build up. Why to say build up? We want just to develop reading skill. We have to consider as teachers that reading skill will not to be developed by one trial. We need to have more and more activities and to make them increase their comprehension ability. Okay, so when we have, for example, a text in Unit 1 and their comprehension reach 40%, okay, we want just to increase it to 60% in what? Into the reading text in Unit 2. And it goes on till the last unit that we are going to teach. So here we are behind the increase of the ability for reading and understanding, rather than to make them recall everything to be found in the text. So this is what we call success-oriented. That is what we need them to increase their abilities in reading and comprehension. Construct the reading activity around a purpose. You see now, so what I'm going to do as a teacher, first of all, I have to find a purpose for the reading. Why to make my students read the text? Okay, what is the purpose behind this text? What does it develop? Okay, is it linguistic development or content development? Okay, that has significance for the students. Make sure students understand what the purpose for reading is. Okay, how can I succeed to make my students understand the purpose behind this? Of course, I'm going to introduce. Okay, my students, today we are going to have this passage and it is directed for the uses of internet, just like this. So I'm going to introduce what do they have in the text in order to make them understand why do they read this text in particular. Okay. To get the main idea, obtain specific information, understand most of the entire message, enjoy the story. Of course, again, the choice of the passages, of course, should be what? Related to the interest of the readers, of the students, by the way. Maybe this will not be your own responsibility, because as teachers, you are going to have a text, I mean, the textbook material, which includes, the reading text. So this is not at your hand to choose what reading text to be given to students. But of course, for material designers, this will be considered. That is what, choosing the text that suits the interest of the students. Of course, to make them enjoy or decide whether or not to read more. Recognizing the purpose for reading will help students select appropriate reading strategies. Of course, when they are going to know the purpose behind this reading, they are going to choose the appropriate reading strategies. I mean, the reading that they are going to have, do they focus on certain sentences and to consider what is relevant and what is irrelevant? So they are going to consider what is important when they are going to know the purpose. For example, the purpose of reading a passage in reading comprehension to what? To write précis. So if there is a précis, it means there is a purpose. And if there is a purpose, the students will be directed to consider what are the lines to be included in the précis. So this is what we call strategies. Define the activity's instructional goal and the appropriate type of response. In addition to the main purpose for reading, an activity can also have one or more instructional purposes. You know the word instructional, that is what? The educational aim. So we have educational aim or purpose, and we have the purpose of the content itself. The instructional purpose, that is related to the methodology of reading. That is what is the educational aim behind the text to be given, such as practicing and reviewing specific grammatical instruction, and that is what we call the linguistic purpose behind reading. You see now, introducing a new vocabulary, and this will be, clear just to give you the two types of reading, that is content and linguistic. Content, that is what the purpose behind the meaning of the text itself, and instructional purpose is what? The linguistic. What are the purposes that are related to language, introducing new vocabulary or familiarizing students with the typical structure of certain types of text. We move to page 18. Check the level of difficulty of the text. The factors listed below can help you judge the relative ease or difficulty of a reading text for particular purpose and particular group of students. So here, the level of difficulty of the text. Here, when we are talking about difficulty, of course, the difficulty will be related to vocabulary. Here, how can I facilitate this, the level of difficulty to students? I'm going to consider the point, how is the information organized? Does the story line, narrative, or instruction conform or to familiar expectation? Texts in which the events are presented in natural chronological order, which have informative title, and which present the information following an obvious organization, main idea first, details and examples are easier to follow. So here, again, the organization of the text itself. Is it to be arranged in time? When we have, for example, narrative story, it will be designed in time order, okay? That is, what is the first event, and then till the end. It will be easier for students to understand if it is to be arranged this way. So it will be an easy text if it is to be arranged in this way. How familiar are the students with the topic? Okay, how familiar, what does it mean? Of course, when the topic to be given to students is related to their environment, related to their language background, related to their own background in general, okay, something that they get it from other materials, okay, it will be easy for them. Remember that the misapplication of background knowledge due to cultural differences can create major comprehension difficulties. This is very, very important. Underline this. Remember that misapplication of background knowledge due to the cultural differences can create major comprehension difficulties. What does this mean? You know, when we are talking about a target language, we are talking about different culture. And of course, when we are talking about reading, this will be clear when we have a text which talks about something related to different culture. So if I'm going to explain wrongly something and to relate it to our culture, which is different in native language, okay, misunderstanding will appear, or it will be difficult. Okay, so for example, if the text is about, for example, Halloween Day, you know Halloween Day, you know Halloween Day?
Yes.
Yes. This is not found in our culture, by the way. Can I check it with something, for example, related, for example, to Ramadan, or for example, something related to Islamic culture or Arabic culture? No. If you are going to relate wrongly, misunderstanding will appear, because you have to consider that each culture has its own specification. I cannot compare it with other different culture. This is the idea. So here, what do you mean by misapplication of background knowledge? I address my students' background wrongly. I relate their background about something which is different, and this will cause some sort of misunderstanding. Got the point now? Got the point or not? Just tell me. This is very important. This is very important, I say. If I misrelate the information to be given in the text, which is in the different culture, with our culture, misunderstanding will appear on the part of students. Does the text contain redundancy? You know the word redundancy? You know redundancy, what does it mean? Repetition. Sometimes the text to be given repeat the information, whether in different way, I mean different vocabulary, but the same meaning, and maybe there is a repetition of the same sentences, the same expression. This is what we call the redundancy. At the lower levels of proficiency, listeners may find short, simple messages easier to process, but students with higher proficiency benefit from the natural redundancy of the authentic language. Again, what does it mean? We have the word redundancy. We have different kinds of students, different level, that is lower level and higher proficiency. What does it mean? Sometimes, if we check the understanding between good students and weak students, here, when we talk about redundancy, that is a repetition of the idea in different, let me say, language structure. Good students will understand the purpose behind this repetition, maybe emphasizing, maybe just to have some sort of intention of the writer. But you see, for weak students, they will not consider it this way. They are not going to be, I mean, interpreting these, repetition as purposeful. It's just to repeat and that's it. Because they are not understanding what is between the lines, okay, and what is something to be embedded, and that is the difference between weak students and good students. With repetition, there is a purpose, but with weak students, they are not going to consider that. It's only just to repeat what is found, and that's it. Does the text offer visual support to aid in reading comprehension? I'm going to give you a good example. Remember your comprehension textbook in the first year and comprehension textbook in the second year. You remember them. The textbook of the first year contains a picture, you remember, with the passage. Do you remember that or not? Just tell me. Students. Students.
Yes, doctor. Yes,
do you remember the passage in the first book? That is what developing skills. There is a picture, and this helps you as students to understand the story of the passage, while the textbook in the second year doesn't contain any picture. Okay, so pictures can help students to understand what does the passage contain. What is the story of the passage? So visual aids such as photographs, maps, and diagrams help students preview the content of the text, guess the meanings of the unknown words, and check comprehension while reading. Traditionally, the purpose of learning to read in language has been to have access to the literature written in that language. Of course, reading text will make students discover what is the type of the literature of the target language, what kind of literature they are going to be exposed to. In language instruction, reading materials have traditionally been chosen from literary texts that present higher forms of culture. Okay, now we are going to compare between traditional methods of teaching in dealing with literature and modern methods of teaching literature. Of course, when we are talking about reading, we are talking about literature here. So with the traditional,
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, yes, please tell me.
The students that has a problem with her email, she talked to me. She want to enter the meet with her personal email. She want to talk to you about this. There is no one solve her problem.
Well, why not just to tell me at the end of the lecture? Because you see now, this problem will not be tackled here. I'm going to, contact her personally. She can contact me in Telegram, okay, and she is going to tell me her problem in detail, and then it will be resolved. Okay, Fatma?
Yes, but what about the meet? She want to enter the lecture. She want to understand.
Well, if it is not possible today, of course, this lecture is recorded. She can listen to the lecture later, and of course, when she is going to contact me, I know her problem, so it will not be registered as absent, and there is nothing wrong with her.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry again to interrupt you.
Well, okay. Again, we are going to compare between the traditional methods of teaching and modern methods of teaching in relation to literature and reading. What do they have? Okay, traditional methods of teaching present literature or reading text for what? To have the value, or let me say the aesthetic, or let me say the moral values behind literature. That is their aim. You see, this approach assumes that students learn to read language by studying its vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structure, not by actually reading it. In this approach, lower levels learners read only sentences and paragraphs generated by textbook written and textbook writers and teachers. The reading of the authentic media is limited to the works of great authors and reserved for upper level students who have developed the language skills needed to read them. So traditionally, they are exposing literature for having, things in relation to language, that is grammar and vocabulary, and to choose let me say the works that are done by best authors, or let me say great authors, okay, it just to have the moral values behind these things. But here to be compared with the communicative methods of teaching, what is the difference? The communicative approach to language teaching has given teachers different understanding of the role of reading in the language classroom and the types of text that can be used in instruction. When the goal of instruction is communicative competence, everyday materials such as the train schedule, newspapers, articles, and travel and tourism websites become appropriate classroom material. You see now, for communicative methods of teaching, the material to be chosen is what is updated, authentic, okay, not just to be written by authors or best authors, or let me say to be chosen as what, as the things that are related to literature only. No, it is to be updated. It is taken from everyday life situation, and they are not just like to be novels, or let me say to be written by popular authors. No, they are taken from newspapers, websites, okay, all these things. Why? Because the aim is just to have the material to be updated, to be authentic. So here, this is the difference between communicative methods of teaching, that is to choose the authentic material, okay, and the traditional methods of teaching, to choose the text from novels, from popular authors for moral values of literature, rather than to have or to select the material that is what updated or taken from everyday life situation. Clear? Any question? Okay. Types of reading. Intensive reading. We read intensively when we are concerned about detail, to examine the use of specific grammatical features, to infer meaning of a new vocabulary, or to learn about discourse markers. This should be understood fully. I need you just to know intensive reading. What does it mean specifically? And this is the meaning, and I believe that it is very clear. Now we come to extensive reading. It means reading fluently to get the gist. You know the gist, just the general idea, or the main idea, or the general understanding of a text. It is often done individually for the purpose of enjoyment, with little teacher involvement. This type of reading is important because it widens learners' exposure to the language. Okay, let me give you two examples for intensive reading and extensive reading. With intensive reading, just like what you have in comprehension, you have a passage, and this passage to be given inside the class, and it will be done for the purposes that are given in the definition. but for extensive reading. Suppose you are going to read the novel that you have in your study, just like Hard Times, I mean, Wuthering Heights, or even the Scarlet Letter. You are going to, I mean, read it individually, I mean, personally and outside the class. You feel that you have the interest to complete it from the beginning till the end. So it will be done by you personally, outside the class, okay? And it will be for enjoyment rather than just to study the material to be given. These are the two types of reading, and their differences should be considered. Now let me tell you what are the pages that are not included in this chapter. So what I want you just to check with me. Here you have to cross page 82. Cross it. This will not be included. Page 83. Cross it. Not important. Page 84. Cross it. Not important. Page 87. Sorry, page 85, cross it, unimportant. Page 86, I'm going to repeat it once again. Just let me complete. Page 86, cross it. Page 87, cross it. Page 88, cross it. So from the beginning, page 82, page 83, page 84, page 85, page 86, page 87, page 88, then page 89 till reading purpose and reading comprehension. I mean, the beginning till the last paragraph will not be included, but we are going to take only the last paragraph on page 89.
Excuse
Are
me,
you with me
Doctor,
now?
we need a title of the topics.
Now, what to have the titles, by the way? What to have the title? I mean, here you have let me say the pages, and you can check because some pages are not having title. You see now, page 82, the title is in the mid. Use pre-reading activities, and this will be difficult, Abdullah. Just check the pages and that's it. Why to have the title? Because some titles are not at the beginning of the pages, and some pages are not having titles.
Doctor, our books is different rather than yours.
Anyway. The page that has used pre-reading activities to prepare students for reading will not be required. Here, page 83, sample pre-reading activities, cross it. Okay, match while reading activities, the purpose for reading, not required, cross it. The reading process, cross it. Integrating reading strategies, cross it. Using authentic materials and approaches, cross it. And then you have reading purpose and reading comprehension. This will be included till the end of the chapter. I'm going to complete it just now. Is that okay, Abdullah?
Yes.
Okay. Reading purpose and reading comprehension. Reading is an activity with a purpose. A person may read in order to gain information or verify existing knowledge, or in order to critique, just to have criticism. A writer's ideas or writing style. A person may also read for enjoyment or to enhance knowledge of the language being read. The purposes for reading guide the reader's selection of the text. You see now, we are, I mean, tackling different reading purposes. And these purposes will not be the same. And that's why our reading will be different. The purpose of reading also determines the appropriate approach to reading comprehension. A person who needs to know whether she can afford to eat at a particular restaurant needs to comprehend the pricing information provided on the menu, but it does not need to recognize the name of every appetizers listed. A person reading poetry for enjoyment needs to recognize the words the poet uses and the ways they are put together, but does not need to identify the main idea and supporting details. However, a person using a scientific article to support an opinion needs to know the vocabulary that is used, understand the facts and cause-effect sequences that are presented, and recognize ideas that are presented as hypotheses and givens. Reading research shows that good readers read extensively, integrate information in the text with the existing. What do you mean by integrate? You know, integrate, unite. The word integrate means unite. That is to unify what I have as a background, okay, with the new material that I have, or the new information that I get from the text to be read. Have flexible reading style depending on what they are reading. Are motivated. Rely on different skills, interacting, perceptual processing, phonemic processing, recall. So these are the qualities of good readers. If I ask you, what are the qualities of good readers? These are the points that to be mentioned. Read for a purpose. Reading saves as a function. Okay. Now we move to page 91. 91, strategies for developing reading skills. How can I develop my reading skills? Language teachers are often frustrated by the fact that students do not automatically transfer the strategies they use when reading in their native language to reading in a language that they are learning. This is very important. We have the word transfer. What does it mean here? Of course, you as a student, you read in the native language and you read in the target language. Of course, the two languages are different, but the strategies, by the way, are not completely different. You read for comprehension. Comprehension is found in the native language and in the what? In the target language. And sometimes you have certain difficulties to be found here and there. Even when you are reading in the native language, suppose that you are reading the Holy Quran. Do you understand every word that is found in the Holy Quran? Of course not. You are going to go to the explanation of certain vocabulary to understand. So here the same problem that will arise when you are going to read in the target language. Again, you are going to have vocabulary as a problem to understand. So here the word transfer, what does it mean? The strategies that you follow, it doesn't mean that it will be totally different. Use them, utilize them as you did in the native language, you can do in the target language. So this is the problem of transfer when students feel that it is totally different. No. Of course, you are reading in different cultures, but it doesn't mean the strategies that are to be totally different. Instead, they seem to think reading means starting at the beginning and going word by word, stopping to look up every unknown vocabulary item until they reach the end. So this is the problem with the readers in the target language. That is what, starting from beginning, as if they are nothing to be have for reading. No, utilize what you have in the native language as strategies. You see now, you can read for skimming, you read for scanning, and just like this. But you are not going to consider word by word, and that is the problem of students when they are beginners in our department, when they are going to have reading passages for developing skills. They are translating every word, and they are going to have a translated text of the passages, and this is wrong. We are not behind translation. We are behind understanding, comprehension. Utilize what you have in the native language for strategies. So word by word is wrong. Word by word understanding. When they do this, students are relying exclusively on their linguistic knowledge. A bottom-up strategy, one of the most important functions of language instructor then is to help students move past these ideas and use top-down strategies as they do in their native language. What does it mean, bottom-up strategies, and you see now the top-down strategy? Here, the difference between reading for word by word understanding and taking a quick view, or let me say, taking a general idea for the topic to be given. That is the difference. What strategy to be followed? That is what the strategies that you are going to consider the general meaning, considering what you have generally, rather than considering word by word understanding. Effective language teachers show students how they can adjust. What do you mean by adjust? Adopt their reading behavior to deal with variety of situations, types of input, and reading purposes. They help students develop set of reading strategies and match appropriate strategies to each reading situation. So what does it mean? Reading texts are not to be the same. What does it mean? It means that each reading text needs a specific or a suitable strategy. Now, let us see what are the strategies to be followed. Strategies that can help students read more quickly and effectively include viewing titles, section headings, and photo captions to get a sense of structure and content of the reading selection. You remember when we taught you comprehension. The first thing, we are going to have the title. The title will suggest something. Once you are going to consider the title, it gives you a general idea about the passage. You remember the first passage in the first year. You see a puma at large. You remember? A puma at large. You remember this passage or not? Just tell me. Students?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. When you have this title, okay, you are going to consider generally, we have a wild animal and we have at large. It means that it is free. At large, it means it is free. It is not inside what? Inside a building or inside the zoo. It is in the open. Okay. Once you are going to consider the title, you are going to have a general idea of the passage itself. That is a previewing, considering titles. Predicting, using knowledge of the subject matter to make predictions. I mean, you expect, I suppose that the passage is about so and so. This is before reading. About the content and vocabulary, and check comprehension. Using knowledge of the text and purpose to make predictions about this discourse structure. Using knowledge about the author to make predictions about writing style, vocabulary, and content. Of course, when you know the author of the text, okay? Suppose when you are talking about, for example, Hawthorne, who is writing Scarlet Letter, you may have an idea about the style to be used. Or if you are talking about a drama, when you are going to consider Hamlet to be written by Shakespeare, of course you are going to consider what kind of vocabulary to be used in this text, which is different from other. Skimming and scanning, if you remember them when we tackled them at the beginning, using a quick survey of the text to get the main idea, identify text structure, confirm or question predictions. Guessing from the context, using prior knowledge of the subject and the ideas in the text as clues to the meanings of the unknown words instead of stopping to look them up. You see now what strategies that you are going to follow to know the unknown vocabulary. Check the context. You can know the meaning of the word that you don't know from the meaning of the word that you know in the context. So you can guess the meaning through looking at the other meanings that are following or coming before the unknown word, instead of checking the dictionary every time. Paraphrasing, stopping at the end of a section to check the comprehension by restating the information and ideas in the text. And that is what is to be done in pricing. Teachers can help students learn when and how to use reading strategies in several ways. Now, this is the role of the teacher. What is the role of the teacher? To guide or to instruct learners to use their strategies by modeling strategies aloud, talking through the process of previewing, predicting, skimming, and scanning and paraphrasing. This shows students how the strategies work and how much they can know about the text before they begin to read word by word. By allowing time in class for a group and individual previewing and predicting activities as preparation for in-class or out of class reading, allocating class time to these activities indicate their importance and value. By using close fill in the blank exercises to review vocabulary items. You know close test? Close test, that is to have the passage with the missing keywords, and students are going to fill according to their understanding, and these vocabulary will be not the same. Some are verbs, others are adjectives, others are nouns, other vocabulary, the missing vocabulary, to be adverbs. That is to check their understanding when we are going to have the missing keywords to complete the meaning of the total text. This helps students learn to guess meaning from context. On the last page, by encouraging students to talk about what strategies they think will help them approach reading assignment, and then talking after reading about what strategies they actually used. This helps students develop flexibility in their choice and strategies. When language learners use reading strategies, they find that they can control the reading experience and they can gain confidence in their ability to read a language. Of course, when these things to be developed, students feel that they are going ahead. They are developing their ability in reading skill, and they feel psychologically confident because they are day by day able to read in the target language. That is the reading skill. Any question? Any question?
No, doctor. No, doctor, no.
Okay. So it's okay with this chapter. For the coming lecture, we are going to tackle, I believe, the last chapter in this course, that is teaching writing. So with this, we have to know that the included chapters will be only 5, chapter 6, and the 4 skills, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yes,
Dictor.
Dictor.
Okay, thanks a lot.